How's it going, everybody? We're switching things up today on the Fight Against Mediocrity podcast. I'm Preston, and I actually manage the YouTube channel here for Kevin. And we're going to finally lock him down and force him to answer these questions. I'm excited for this chance to show the audience a little bit more of who Kevin is. So, thanks for doing this, man.
Yeah, man, this is Preston's idea. I'm really excited for it. Most of the team members, any of the other Fighting Against Mediocrity team members would be like, yeah, this will be cool. But I wouldn't be nervous. But with Preston, I'm actually a little bit nervous because I think he will ask the really, really hard questions. So I'm excited.
Absolutely, man. I want to do just a brief summary. I know a lot of people already know who you are, but I think it's just so epic that let's talk about it real quick. We've got Kevin. He grew up in Utah and one of the small hidden gems, Logan, and an even smaller hidden gem, Hiram City. He went to Mountain Crest, where this guy just naturally stood out from the crowd. He was always so happy, charismatic. Everyone wanted to be Kevin, and if they couldn't be him, at least be around this guy. And he took to unicycling and dominated it. Students at Mountain Crest would say it was the coolest freaking thing. Kevin would actually do assemblies and do like performances in front of the whole school, and those were the only assemblies we ever remembered. It was epic. And then from a
Well,
young age, go
what's
ahead.
funny is I'll run into people from high school and they'll be like, wait, you did the assemblies on the unicycle. I'm like, yeah, that was me. Anyways, keep going.
Yeah, dude. So then honestly, from a young age, you were even selling teddy bears that you would get out of vending machines to your family members. So from a very young age, you had this entrepreneurial spirit. And you're saying that it was supercharged by the experience you had with unicycling. It taught you a very important lesson. And it seems like a lot of things that you do kind of stem from that lesson of getting around the right people. So talk to me real quick for a second about getting around the right people.
Yeah, good question. So I don't know if my wife gave you that really nice script of intro, but thank you for the kind words. So when I was 11 years old, from the little to 11 years old, I was going to be in the NBA. I would play basketball after school for hours, like 3 to 4 hours, sunshine, rain, snow, like whatever, just playing. And one day I was outside playing and practicing, and my neighbor walked by with his mom, and he was trying to ride a unicycle. And it's so funny because I distinctly remember thinking, that's the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. Why would anybody want to do that? And I will go out there, we're talking, and I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, my dad found this and he gave it to me to try. And I'm like, okay, well, good luck. I'm going to go play basketball. But he went to the same church as I did. And so every week he would bring it to the activities during the week for the young men. And so I'd be like, oh, well, I kind of want to try it. So I'd try it fall. I'd be like, oh yeah, no, I don't want to do it. And every week for about 2 months, I just try and try and try. And then finally one night I rode like 100 yards. And I was like, dang, that was fun. And he left for a week on vacation and left me with his unicycle, and I rode it everywhere. That's when I got hooked. And for the next 4 years, I switched completely from basketball to unicycling. So 3 to 4 hours every day after school, I'd bring it to school. Sometimes I'd even ride it during class if we didn't have anything going on, and just practiced and practiced and practiced. I'd even build like courses out in the pasture next to our house. So I'd like jump up on stuff and ride on rails and whatever. And 4 years go by, and I'm like, good for our community, but I'm still watching all these YouTube videos of all these amazing unicyclists and thinking like, man, I want to be able to do those tricks. Like, why can't I do those tricks? And there wasn't Facebook back then, but there was a unicycle forum where all the unicyclists could go and chat with each other. And I remember someone posted about the North America Unicycle Championships in South Dakota. And I was 15 at the time. And so I run downstairs. I'm like, Dad, can we go? Like, I want to go to this competition. And to my surprise, he said, I don't know. I don't know if I was surprised or not, but he's like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go on a family vacation and we'll go watch you unicycle and compete. And so I registered, went, and it was the craziest thing ever because I got to, sit at the feet of the world's best unicyclists for a week and ask them questions and get to know them on a first name basis. and get to hang out with them. And I just shadowed them everywhere, like watching what they did, watching how they rode, and just like obsessed with it. And I didn't necessarily like land anything cool or crazy during that week. But from that week, 2 years later, I went from being able to do like maybe two street tricks to being able to do hundreds of street tricks and placing fifth in North America in street unicycling. So 4 years of like, decent for my area. And then like 2 years later being fifth best in North America. And it was all because of getting around the right people and in person seeing like, hey, this is possible. Like they're no different than me, and asking them like, hey, well, how do you do this? How do you do this? How do you do this? And shortcutting it. And what's crazy is nowadays people will do what took me 2 years, they'll do in 6 months just because of, they can get around the right people faster. And so that was the first time I really firsthand experience like it pays to get around the people who you want to be like, because you'll just become like them faster.
And why is that? Why do you come like what about being around him?
Dr. David McClelland of Harvard University spent 25 years studying this, and he found or success, and he said, your reference group is the single most important determining factor on whether you fail or succeed in life. So who you surround yourself with. And I think it just boils down to you become who you spend time with. And I shared this story at a workshop that we had recently of me going to Nashville, and I did not want to so we got to Nashville. The first place you go when you get to Nashville is Broadway Street, where all the concerts are and everything. And there's a lot of places that sell boots. And so the people that we're with are like, let's go see the boots. And I'm like, I am not getting boots. Like, we can go see them, we can do whatever, but hands down, I am not touching the boots, nor am I getting a hat or belt or anything. Like, I don't need it. I don't want it. I don't wear it. Like, I'll go, but I'm not doing it. Fast forward 3 days, and we're in the airport, and I'm wearing a cowboy hat, cowboy boots, and the security guard asks my wife, "Are you with this cowboy?" Like, from no, I will not, to 3 days later, like people thinking I'm a cowboy in the airport. And there's a funny picture that I have of it. And like you just become who you spend time with. Like Nashville has everyone wears boots and hats, and they get on stage and they sing and you think it's awesome. So it's crazy how fast you become like who you spend time with. And a lot of people hear that, but then they go spend time with people who gossip or talk negatively or backbite, or family members who criticize other people. And they hear it, but then they don't actually do it. And they hear it and they're like, yeah, but $1,000 for a conference ticket is too much. But you can't, there's no amount of money that's too much to get around the right people who you want to be with. It's crazy. That's how we are as humans. We want to be like those. We want to be accepted and liked by those who we are around. So we will conform to whatever we're around. I don't know. Maybe that was too deep, but that's why.
I don't think so. I'm wondering, some people don't, some people don't have the same impact, I would say, as if they're getting around the same people, and what I mean by impact is like, if you get around these people, it's going to help you. It's going to make you grow. What about those people who, they haven't seen that yet? They don't understand the bad impact, that their environment's having on them.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'll tell a story that illustrates this. So my neighbor, last May, we held our first ever Create Your Own Economy conference. We had about 70 people there, and it was phenomenal. And my neighbor has experience with internet marketing and business and all that stuff. Not to say that the conference was internet marketing specific, but he has, business contacts and stuff. But he went to the conference and he said this to me afterwards, and it blew my mind. He says, "You don't realize how dead you are inside until you get around people who are alive." What he was saying is he didn't realize that he was dead inside until he went to that conference and felt the energy of the other people in that room and the speakers and the environment and optimistic people, people who aspire for more. And he's like, wow, I have been hanging out with the wrong people. And so I think in order to understand that you're missing out on it, you have to experience it. And I would recommend just going to some sort of like business or motivational conference in your industry. Like, you just have to do it. I always had the faults. It's pretty funny actually. Up until about like 3 years ago, yeah, 3 or 4 years ago, I was, too cheap to spend money on the tickets and flight and hotel and food, because in my mind, I'm like, "Well, I can get the recording for $100. Why would I spend all the money to go travel? I'll just watch the recording later." Like, that's all I really want, right, is the information. Wrong. I would say the information is about 5% of what you get there. 95% is the connections. For example, I heard a story about someone who went to a conference. They paid a lot of money to go there, but because of that, they're now able to partner and start this potential multi-million dollar company, all because of one connection that they made. And so, and it wasn't like it's just crazy. It's just crazy. When you get around, people, and you take a step forward in faith to get around the right people, how God puts the right people in front of you, and you just opportunities happen.
Mm. So let's crack open the egg a little bit, man. Give us an example for you. Who are like your top 3 or 5 like most positive, influential people that you get around right now?
That's a good question. I don't think my answers are necessarily the right answers for everyone on this. You know what I mean? Like for everyone, it's a little bit different. But for me, this is a really cool question. So, one of the things that I realized is, well, we already talked about it. You become who you spend time with. Two of the people I want to become more like are God, my heavenly Father, and my Savior Jesus Christ. And it was actually about a year ago that I took an inventory and I said, okay, I say I want to be like, Heavenly Father and Jesus Christ, but the time spent with them is not in proportion to that. And so I've actually made a big push to pray more, read my scriptures more, just so that I can build that relationship. Because although I can't talk to them face to face like I can other people, I have the scriptures, I have, different ways of learning from them and learning to be like them. So those are two that I spend time with every day. Other ones, and I'll just name these, and these are just the ones that come to the top of my mind. If you ask me tomorrow, it might be other people, but someone else that and what you'll find interesting is none of these are people who I actually physically spend time with. They're all people I spend time with by listening to their books, their YouTube videos, their podcasts, etc. One is Russell Brunson. I admire him as a person, as a family man, as a business owner. And so I listen to, stuff that he does. One of them is Darren Hardy. I bought all of his programs. And for the last year, actually, every morning in the gym, I listened to only one of his programs over and over and over again, just so I could really get it down. So Darren Hardy, I spend a lot of time with. In the past, it's been more, but not so much as of right now. But Grant Cardone, because I just think he inspires me to do more, and not to settle for less. And I would say, let's see, probably like Alex Ramosi. And I think the unique thing, and the reason I try to spend time, watching Alex Ramosi's YouTube videos and podcasts, is because he's very strict with himself to only teach truth. And I find that sometimes people just like to say stuff, but when he says stuff, it's because it's tried, tested, and proven. And so I like to listen to him. But other than that, most of the time I try to spend time with people who have been where I'm trying to go. So if you look at my Kajabi account app on my phone, that's what I listen to every morning at the gym. And I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, I know this person crushes it at ads. I'm going to learn everything I can from them. Ideally, I wouldn't have to do that. I could just find someone who can do my ads, but not at that point right now. So I'm doing it. But you'll notice that most of the people I just said, I actually don't spend time physically with. And that's because I'm very picky with who I spend time physically with. Honestly, the people I spend the most time with, like physically or like face to face talking to, is my wife, and then the Fight Against Mediocrity team and the Fight Against Mediocrity clients. Those are probably the people I spend the most time with. And we are very relentless in only letting in great people into the program and onto our team. And so, when I hear people say things like, "Oh man, how do you get around more positive people?" I'm just like, well, you choose who you spend time with. Like, you create your circles. It's actually one of the reasons I left my past job, is because I was sick of spending time with pessimistic, negative. I don't want to say what's the right word? Pessimistic, negative, and limited belief minded people. It's actually one of the biggest reasons I left. Most people would not have left. It was a really good job. It was a really good setup. But I honestly remember having this thought. I would rather leave. When I was at my last job, I worked for my dad. That's not a secret. I say that all the time. I remember having the thought, like, if I leave here, that it's possible that I go broke, lose all my money, and fail. It's possible, right? It's possible for everyone. Jeff Bezos said he only thought Amazon had a 30% chance of success. So I thought it's possible that I fail. And I remember thinking, I would rather try and fail and be around optimistic, positive, growth minded people than succeed financially, but spend the rest of my life becoming more like these people. I remember having that thought. And that sounds rude, but you have to understand that you don't choose how other people act. You don't. You can only choose how you act and who you spend time with. And so I just chose, like, hey, life's way short. I'm not going to spend it with these people.
So that's one of the questions is why do you turn some people away from joining the fam?
Well, the interesting thing about the fam is people self-select themselves by our language, by how we market. I've never had anybody join the fam who, just because of, like, nobody would ever follow me on Instagram and for a long period of time if they didn't believe in what I was saying, because I'm so vocal about what I believe. And so, so what's interesting about that is, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, when I finally got the cojones to be like, I'm sick of this. I'm posting what I believe on social media about the fight against mediocrity and growth and ambition and not settling and making more money. Like, I'm not going to be afraid anymore. So I started posting, and it was crazy because I didn't have like a lot of followers. I had like maybe 1,500, but I had almost 200 people unfollow me when I started doing that. And most people would say, like, oh no, they're leaving me. Like, but I was like, yes, finally I'm taking a stand. And those who don't believe what I believe are leaving. And that leaves room for people to enter who do believe what I believe. Is that your question? What was your question?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's the reason, so you're so honest and open about what you believe in that is the filter. That's why
Yeah.
if somebody wants to get in, they can't. It's like, well, first off, they're not going to show up
They
if they're
wouldn't want
not
to.
ready, right? Okay, that's
Yeah.
amazing. That's
They
really cool,
wouldn't.
man.
And any company can do that through their marketing and through their language and all of that stuff. Like, how you talk attracts who you want
Hmm.
to attract. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
so
Cool. Well, here's a question that's kind of fun. How do you like to describe what you do when people ask?
that's a funny question, because sometimes when older people ask, like, well, I'm just gonna answer the question. So how I explain what I do is I help business owners create their own economy through the fight against mediocrity. And ultimately, my goal is to help people realize their unlimited potential. So that's what I do. That's what we do every day. We create products and services and opportunities for people, and a coaching program for people to grow their business, get around like-minded people, have mental breakthroughs, and just grow overall.
And then they say, okay, but what does that mean? And then what do you say?
So if they say, what does that mean? I just say, yeah, we have a coaching program where you come in and we have recorded videos for you to watch and grow and learn. We have, well, I guess a caveat, if people just say, like, well, how do you do that? Is that the question you asked? Like, well, how do you
Yeah,
do
yeah.
that?
Yeah, how do you do it?
We do it through our 5-month coaching program. That's like the simple answer. Because if I get too into the weeds, even on here, people are going to zone out and be like, oh, I'm not interested. But like, we do it through a coaching program. And at first, the coaching program was like, hey, here are some recorded calls, and you get calls with Kevin. And it's grown to now where we have coaches in the program, we have accountability groups, we have our own planner, we have lots of recorded content, we have speakers come in, and you can do Q&A. And so it's really like an eco support system for entrepreneurs to grow. It's really what it is.
Eco support system. Yeah, absolutely, man. That's what's kind of cool. It's like you can't really say how do you do it. It's more so like, well, what do you need? Because we've got it. And what's your
Uh,
flavor, right? That's really cool.
I mean,
Okay.
just truthfully, like, there's a lot of people who do what we do. And at first that bugged me. I was like, oh man, well, there's other people. Like, why are they going to choose me? But then I realized, like, exactly what we're going back to. People are going to resonate with me and want to join the Fight Against Mediocrity program because they resonate with me. And other people are going to resonate with someone else. And that's just how it goes. But yeah, if you're a business owner who wants to grow and you resonate with our message, with what we're doing, we're very much so like family values based business coaching. If that's what you want, that's what you believe in, like, then we're here.
Yeah. And you center a lot of, I feel like a lot of what, what you talk about, a big part of your beliefs, I guess, is, it comes from religion and your belief in God and Christ and that Christian aspect. So you make sure that the program also is beneficial to the spiritual side, because it's like a lot of business people will say you have to make sacrifices, and that means no love and no religion. And they don't make room for those. They just focus so hard on the business. But you say, no, no, that's essential.
It stems a lot from my beliefs and everything like that. And I'll share two experiences that like prove that the fight against mediocrity is led by God and not by me. Because I think a lot of people look at me and they're like, oh, Kevin just trying to get rich by charging people a ton of money for coaching and stuff. And I'll tell you two stories that will actually like prove that that's not the case. One of the biggest reasons why the gospel influences me so much is because every time I talk to my grandpa, my mom's dad, he's a very successful guy. His dad passed away when he was 14. He did not go to any college. Um, he has not taken any of the courses or whatever that I've done or other people do. So I always ask him, like, well, how have you been so successful? He's like, everything you need to know is right here. And he holds up the Book of Mormon and the Bible. He's like, everything about business, about success, about prosperity is right here. And ultimately, he's true. When you make God your partner, he already knows how to succeed. I mean, Christianity is one of the largest movements on the planet. And so obviously, he knows how to do something right. But the reason religion and family are so important to me is because the fight against mediocrity would not exist without God. And the reason I say that is because there was something had happened at work, and I was like, oh man, I do not want to do this anymore. This was 2 years ago. Like, I kind of want to do something else. I kind of want to switch it up, but I don't know what. And so for about a month, and this is the same thing that happened to me when I started in sales. If you guys have heard that story, I prayed for 7 days, a sales opportunity came up. And so again, same pattern. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to pray, and prayed with like true intent every night for about a month. With other things, but like that same consistent question, like, what should I do? I don't want to work here anymore, but I don't know what to do. What should I do? Guide me, help me, teach me. And I don't know if, God just gets annoyed with me, and obviously he doesn't, but finally he gives me the answer. You know what I mean? And when I was praying one night, I had the prompting to call this guy named Colin. He'd spoken to a class that I took at the University of Utah when I was in the Master's of Real Estate Development program. He owns a big home building company in Utah. And I had the prompting to call him. And I was like, okay, well, I don't have his number. I could probably find his email, but I don't really know what to talk to him about. I just had the prompting, like, get in touch with him. So just like all of us, I was like, okay, sure, fine, I'll do it. And then life gets busy. So it got put on the back burner and I didn't do it. And 2 weeks later, again, I'm kneeling down praying, like, I don't know what to do. Please help me. Please guide me. I know I want to start some sort of business, but I don't know what to do. I don't like what I'm doing here. I don't like the environment of what I'm doing here. And like someone hit me in the back of the head. It was like, call Colin. Like, you have to call Colin. So you'd think I would have got it the first time, but I didn't. So I closed the prayer. I pick up my cell phone, and I had his email somewhere in one of the classes or something. So I email him, and I literally said, I wish I had it. It was on my old work email. So I literally don't have the conversation. I'm so mad. But I said, hey, I don't really know what I'm supposed to, like, why I'm reaching out to you, but would you mind hopping on a call for a few minutes this Friday? Like, I just wanted to pick your brain. And that's like the worst thing you should say. Like, You never say like, I just want to pick your brain. And I may have not phrased it like that, but basically like, hey, I have a situation. I'm working for my dad's company. I just had a few questions. He's like, yeah, sure. Friday at 11:30, let's set up a Zoom call. And so Friday at 11:30 comes, and I still don't know what I'm supposed to ask him. And he's like a high level, successful entrepreneur and business owner. And I remember sitting in my car in the parking lot, getting on the Zoom, thinking he's going to think I'm such an idiot because I literally do not know what I'm supposed to ask him. I literally don't know. So start the Zoom call, and I'm like, hey, I feel kind of silly. Like, I really don't know what I'm supposed to ask you, but let me just describe my situation, and like, you can give me whatever advice you have. Um, so I say, this is what's going on. Working at my dad's company. I'm not loving it. Want to start my own thing. This is how I feel. I won't go into all the details. I don't know if I'm not ready to talk about it yet or whatever, but I won't go into all the details. And it was crazy because he said, well, I actually understand your situation more than you know. He's like, my dad owned a real estate company, and he said to me and my brother, hey, do you guys want to come work here? I said no. My brother said yes. And these are how our paths have been different. And he explained it to me. And it was like word for word. Like I had tears the entire conversation because it was like word for word what I needed to hear. And it was just crazy to me that Heavenly Father knew, Kevin, call Colin and he'll tell you. Heavenly Father didn't appear to me and like, hey, Kevin, this, and this, but he uses his children to answer our prayers. And so literally Colin said word for word everything I needed to hear. And at the end of this conversation, he's like, you're smart. You'll figure it out. It'll be tough, but you should go start your own business. The irony is he thought I was going to start a real estate business, which I kind of thought I would too. I don't think he really realized like what this was going to happen, but he's like, you should go do it. You'll be a lot happier. And so that was 11:30 on Friday. 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. that same Friday, I quit my job. Like, hey, I'm done. Gonna do my own thing. My dad's company, that I was supposed to take over, or that not supposed to, but like the option was available for me to, take it over and lead it. And that was kind of the start of the fight against mediocrity. And so that was like, that all happened. It was led by God for sure. 100%. I do not doubt it. However, about 3 or 4 months into the fight against me, maybe like it was probably like 4 months into the fight against mediocrity. We're planning for this big conference. We have some clients, but it's tough, and I'm like, Heavenly Father, is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? Because if it's not, I'll go do something else. Like, this is hard. And you know what I mean? Like, almost retrospectively, I was almost trying to like get out of doing it. Like, are you sure this is what I'm supposed to be doing? Like, I'll go do something else. This is like hard. And like this was like same thing, 2 or 3 weeks, like praying, like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Just help me know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Because I want to do, what you want me to do. And I go to the gym. I go to the gym early, like 4:30. And I don't talk to people at the gym, which is like in the Fight Against Mediocrity program, I'm pretty vocal. I share my opinions and all that. When I'm like with family and friends and stuff, I typically am like pretty quiet, um, more introverted. So like at the gym, I'm not like necessarily like high-fiving everybody and talking to everybody. It's like, hey, I go in, put my headphones in and go do my workout. And this guy, his name's Aaron, at the gym, for whatever reason that morning, he, taps me on the shoulder. I'm like, hey, what's up? He's like, hey, I always see you here. Like, what do you do? Like, what's your story? I'm like, oh, I'm a business owner. I own my own business. Yeah. He's like, oh, well, that makes sense. Like, most people don't get up this early and come to the gym. He's like, well, what do you do? And I was like, oh, I just wrote a book. I do coaching. I help motivate people. That was like the extent of kind of what I knew I was doing at that point. I was like, I just wrote a book called The Fight Against Mediocrity. I help people improve themselves. And he started tearing up. I'm like, what did I say? And he's like, you changed my life. I was like, what do you mean I changed your life? He's like, well, not you, but someone like you changed my life. And he looks at me and he says, keep doing what you're doing. You're changing lives. And it was like, out of nowhere, I've seen this guy for months, like, and randomly he just like says that. And I just like started tearing up. I'm like, and it just like hit me like that was an answer to your prayer. And I actually, on the way home from the gym that morning, recorded a video of what I felt in that moment because I didn't want to forget it. It was like 4-minute video. And I could share a dozen more experiences like that, but it's just like over and over and over reiterated to me. Like, if you let God be a partner in your business and in your life, he'll guide your footsteps. He'll help you. Um, he'll, he won't make it easy, but give you that little piece when you need it. And so, yeah, it's been really cool. I mean, the fight against mediocrity has been, led by God. He's had his hand in it the whole time. And even though sometimes it's like really hard, and I think, man, is this really what I want to be doing? Because it's, you see what other people are doing. You're like, oh, that's got to be easier than what I'm doing. But that's not definitely not true. But that's why religion, I mean, I could share more stories, but yeah, religion has played a huge part in business and my family, because ultimately at the end of the day, like, business is something we do for fun. But when you go home, what's really important is your family, relationship with God, and all that stuff.
Yeah, there's this CEO, and he's very involved in crypto, and he's known for like selling everything and having no relationships, just to build a massive empire in business. And what's interesting is he's probably one of the most cynical people I've ever experienced in my life. So much money, so much success, yet he's so full of hate. And so yeah, so cynical. It's really, and you're the opposite of that. I mean, it's funny, you even take time, to record some YouTube videos. You're like, I got, here's the time that I have, and I want to spend it with Ford. I want to help my wife. And I feel like a lot of business owners aren't as strong as that, to who are fathers, to just like balance both like that. And that's really incredible. And I think credit where credit's due. It's because you have that faith in your religion. You uphold that belief in family. Family's important. And a lot of people like to believe that, but it's really inspiring for all of us on this side of your story, Kevin, to see you, hold on to that belief, but then practice what you preach. So it's really cool, man. That's awesome. So I don't
Well,
want to lose, talking about college really quick. You brought up your grandpa, and then in you. So you have behind you a plaque that says you just hit the what? Explain that plaque behind you, that award.
yeah. So this award says that I did well, not me, but the fight against mediocrity. We did $100,000 in 30 days.
Okay.
Pretty
So you hit
cool.
100K, you're a college graduate. How much of college had an impact on you? How did college have an impact on you getting that award?
It's a good question. I mean, what's funny is that award. So when people see that award, and a lot of marketers and online gurus, they'll show their award and be like, I can teach you how to do this in 30 days. Truth is, that award has been earned the last 28 years of my life. You know what I mean? Like, you become the type of person who can accomplish something like that. And I'm grateful for all of our clients that made that possible. Um, but if I, what's really funny is one of the biggest reasons for that award was a $300 course that I bought and binge watched 2 times before we held the Create Your Own Economy conference that taught me how to sell things from stage. And I mean, honestly, that's probably one of the biggest things. And granted, like, I've done a lot of sales, a lot of selling, and so I'm comfortable in those situations. Um, but like, if I were to have followed the path that college wanted me to follow, I would be doing accounting still. Because sadly, in college, the big push was like, hey, go get a good job at one of these accounting firms, and that's it. Like, that's your life. Like, good luck, have fun. And it was selfishly I mean, life's all about incentives, right? So colleges are incentivized to show good job placement, because if they can show, hey, we place X amount of jobs, come here and we'll get you a good job, more people are going to attend the university. And so not necessarily to their fault, their whole goal is to get you in a good job. But that's not always the best thing for the user. And I don't know. Anyway, so I would say like if I were to put a percentage on how much percentage college helped me get that, I would probably say like 0.5%.
Right on. And that 0.5% was what? Like, what did it do for you?
Maybe like relationships. Like the
Okay.
people I met in college is probably the biggest thing.
So you're better off just learning how to network than getting in debt.
Yeah, I mean, and networking is a funny word. Like if I could give anyone advice, like you don't even have to be in college, but just figure out when the business school is hosting events, when they bring in CEOs and business owners and lecturers and things like that, and then just go attend them. Most of them are actually free. Um, yeah, and so like that when networking, it's like just go to events where the people who are like-minded like you hang out and just go meet people.
That's really good. That's interesting. Yeah. So let's talk about this real quick. A couple of these questions. So some people are kind of curious, like, let's say I do buy a membership to the FAM. What do you do? Walk us through that process you take to set, let's say it's me. I purchased a ticket. What process do you walk me through to get success, to be successful?
Yeah, that's a good question. And we're always making it better. Instead of making tons of different programs, we're going to make the Fight Against Mediocrity program the best business coaching program on planet Earth. And so come 2023, what it's going to look like is first of all, we set you up with a good experience in the first week. So we have an onboarding call where you're given like full expectations of what the program includes and what to expect and everything like that, when calls are, how to get the most out of it, everything like that. And that's a one-on-one call where we actually sit down with you. We send you a welcome package with, some swag, my book, the Accomplish Anything Blueprint planner. Oh, it's right in front of me, which is the planner I created for entrepreneurs to accomplish their goals. And the first 6 weeks are actually building your foundation. So hey, here are the non-negotiables, the shirt I'm wearing. Like, in order to be successful in business, you first have to be successful personally. We need you investing every day in your mind, your body, and your spirit. Like, that's phase one. You have to do it because if you have all the money in the world, but your health sucks, or you're not investing in your mind and becoming better, or, your spiritual side sucks, you're not going to be happy. So that's the first thing. Then we teach, okay, here's how to get clear on your goals. Here's the system to actually achieve your goals, not just a pretty planner at TJ Maxx. And then we go into how to take advantage of the morning, because I believe that the morning is a God-given gift to the high achiever. You're more capable of having new ideas come to you in the morning when you're fresh and bright and no one's bugging you. And then we go through how to increase basically the rest of the program, the rest of the 5 months is like how to build a business and how to increase sales, how to market better, how to build a movement, how to build a team. So that's like the curriculum. But what we found is most courses, most programs, they have the curriculum and they're just like, hey, go watch this and good luck. But I found that people just need ongoing support. And so we have a mindset coach, one of the top business mindset coaches in the country. She's coached thousands of entrepreneurs. She comes and we do a live Zoom call and you can ask her questions. She presents, you can ask her questions. We do Tuesday calls where myself or a business expert or marketing expert or someone hops on a call and teaches and asks questions. And then we're also in 2023 going to implement a weekly sales call, meaning you can hop on and ask sales questions or marketing questions. We'll also have a marketing call. And then Friday mornings, this is a new thing. And I was like this was like one of those things where I was like barely not going to do it, but I'm glad we did. Every Friday morning at 6 a.m., we have accountability groups. And so you're put into a small group of other business owners and you wake up 6 a.m. Friday morning, which shows your dedication, and you are held accountable to your goals. You can ask questions. You can give other people feedback and support. And that's been a huge game changer. People have loved that as well. And so, that's what you get over the course of those 5 months. And our goal is to help you 10x your investment with what you invested in and grow your income.
Okay. And I want to break this down. There's one step that I think is really interesting and unique that you do. I guess other people might do it. I think you've done it the best I've ever seen, is that onboarding call. Here's an interesting question, Kevin. How often are people crying during or after your onboarding call?
I don't know. That's a good question. It's interesting because like onboarding call and sales call, like just from those calls alone, we'll have people, yeah, tear up, talk about their goals, hopes, aspirations, what they want. And then also just from even some of our sales calls, like, and people sometimes that don't even join the program, like a couple weeks later, they'll text me, be like, "Hey, dude, thanks for what you said on our sales call. I just quit my job. I'm going to go all in on my business." And so it's been cool to see stuff like that. But, I mean, what you're basically saying is like, we actually care. Like, we just really, really care about people. And so we ask the tough questions of like, "Hey, why do you want to do this? Like, why is this important to you? Why is it important for you to spend more time with your family?" And those are the things that people really care about. The money is like cool and stuff, but people just want more money to, have status or be more, have more freedom, have more time with their family, all that stuff.
Yeah, and what's interesting is for my experience with you, geez, man, like and I know I'm not alone in this. I talked to everybody else in the fam, and it's like, yeah, we all know why we want to get in, but having that onboarding call with you, you really pulled out a really deep truth and connecting truth. And I feel like my why was like tenfold stronger, man. I got in, you unlocked things I didn't know, man. It was like you just it's not like you have a set of questions, and regardless of the answer you ask the next question, you're in it with me, and it's adaptive, and it's like you really make sure at the end of that phone call you have to believe in my why, is how it felt. And once like I believed in my why, and then you were like, okay, I don't think he's quite there yet. Let's go again. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's even more there. It's deeper, it's big. And it was really mind blowing to see you just expand that why. And that put me on quite an emotional high for a while. And to jump into the program after experiencing that, I think it was epic, dude. So it's good. That's a common thing. A lot of people in the fam are like, man, he made me cry, or I had no idea, or I realized this, this truth, this hidden motivator. And once you know that, it's almost like you're putting a hidden gasoline in this car. And then once you tell me what that gasoline is, I know how to make it. I know how to create it and harness it even better. So that's really
Mhm.
cool. So tell me, like, what are some of the whys that you've heard that you really appreciate?
That's a good question. I think,
I'll
well,
start with this. Talk to me about the whys you're hearing recently. Like what kind of things do you typically hear?
a lot of it is family based. Hey, I'm doing this so that my husband doesn't have to work. I'm doing this so I can homeschool my kids. I'm doing this so I can be more with my kids. I'm doing this so that, I can serve more in my church. Those are some of the common whys. I'm doing this because, I saw the poverty that I grew up in and I don't want that for my kids. However, I think deep, deep, deep down from everyone's answers is they want to make a difference, whether in their family's lives and someone else's lives. Like they want to make a difference. And they also want more status. And that's one thing that I don't think a lot of people can verbalize very well. Like when you say, like, "Hey, well, why are you doing this?" Not very many people are going to say, like, "Well, I want to look like I want to have higher status in society." Like that's just not like something that we say. But I think when you boil it down, especially entrepreneurs, there's some sort of pain that most of us have that we're trying to overcome through our entrepreneurship journey, through creating something, through making a difference. But anyways, it does revolve typically a lot around family that way.
And do you think that plays a part in why it's such a tight-knit group? I mean, you call it the fam, but do you think that plays a part in why it actually feels like a family?
I think one of the reasons it feels so much like a family is because the people who are attracted into it have similar values as I do, and they just all have similar values in general. And so it's really cool how it's just been like it's almost like a magnet. Like the fam is a magnet and it just slowly attracts people who connect with that same frequency. And I think that's one of the reasons it feels so much like a family, is because we all believe the same things. We're all pushing towards the same things. We all want to support each other and see each other succeed. We know how each other feels, whether being criticized by our family for what we're doing or not having people believe in us or failing over and over again. Like it's just, that connection and common purpose. We're all striving for similar things.
We're in the program, we do an onboarding call, right? What are some of the I guess what's the most common growth area that you see people like everyone seems to kind of get tripped up or have a mind blown moment at?
That's a really good question. So it's funny because the very first group of people I took through the program, I was like, okay, guys, like, what has been your biggest takeaway? And I'm hoping that they'll say, like, well, this and this helped me get more sales and this, which everyone got. Like, we had one student who went from being a nurse making like 40 or $50,000 a year to she's going to make six figures this year in her business. Like, and she made $8,500 her first month in the program. And so even for her, like her specifically, I was like, hey, what was your biggest takeaway? I think you should be like, well, this part of the sales process or this part of finding new customers or this, you know what I mean? But she's like, no, actually the biggest takeaway for me was the non-negotiables, like what I'm wearing right now. And I'm like, what? The non-negotiables? Really? That was your biggest takeaway? And I think that's been the biggest thing for people because I put such a big emphasis on like, hey, it's cool to make a lot of money, but don't screw it up by neglecting your mind, your body, and your spirit. Like you have to be investing in those every day. And I think that's just been something where people, it finally clicks like, oh, yeah, like I really have neglected my mind or my body or my spirit. Like I really do need to make that a crucial part, not at the end of the journey, but in the journey. The other big takeaway is just like how crucial sales is in life, not just in business, but in every aspect of life. Like I think a lot of people realize like, oh crap, like even if I have a 9 to 5 job, I just sold my services for a fixed price. Like I'm in sales, everyone's in sales.
Yeah, I it's almost like do you feel like people who hate sales would actually have a pretty decent mindset change if they joined the fam?
Yeah, no, anyone who goes through the program, they have a lot of mindset changes, especially when they go through the 4 hats of sales and the sales process and follow up. And, sales and marketing is really just psychology. And so we teach everything in a way to make more money, but there's a lot of psychology principles inside of the program that help you just become a better person and understand your friends and family better as well. But the funny thing is, and I say this in my book, if someone comes up to me and is like, Kevin, I hate salespeople. I am not a salesperson, nor will I ever be a salesperson for this reason and this reason and this reason. I would just like smile at them and be like, yeah, you're right. But as I walk away, I would say, like, oh, they just tried to sell me on the fact that they're not a salesperson, thus making them a salesperson. So, like, I don't know. Everyone's in sales. Sales is just has a bad rap to it, but really it's just persuasion. You know what I mean?
It's almost like the bad rap, the people who actually believe sales suck. Tell me if you agree with this. I'd love to hear your insight. These people that believe sales suck are typically just really poor communicators that take advantage of. And then there's the other half of people who think sales suck just because people tell them sales suck.
Well, yeah, I think people who think there's all sorts of reasons, but probably one of the biggest reasons the people who think sales suck or people that don't like sales, they probably suck at sales and they probably don't get their way very much. And they probably settle and they probably have a scarcity mindset and they probably think that life happens to them, not for them. Like that's probably a lot of it because every high level entrepreneur who's been successful that I've talked to, and you say, like, how important is sales? They all say, oh, sales is so important. One of the top skill sets you need to succeed. And so I think a lot of the people who say that, and this is a very general statement, have just kind of given up. And so they just kind of settle. Or they had a bad experience with the salesperson because there are a lot of bad salespeople out there who are very pushy. And so they see that as, oh, sales is bad, sales is pushy. But really, if you think about it, and this is what we talk about in the Fight Against Mediocrity program, if you as a person have a product or service that you believe in, whether or not you're selling it. Maybe for example, like I just bought these Bose headphones. I didn't, these are really old, but say for example, I just bought these Bose headphones and they made flying a game changer for me. Like now when I fly, I don't hear the engines. I can listen to my audiobooks and it's amazing. Well, I should feel morally obligated to go share these with my friends and family because I want them to have the same experience I did. That's sales. When you believe in something, you don't share it to be pushy, you share it because you believe in it. Some people might say, "Hey Kevin, quit pushing your earphones on me," but I'm just going to say like, "No, you don't understand. It'll change your life." But, some people just see it as, "Oh, I don't want to be pushy," when really they just don't believe enough in what they do.
Interesting. Yeah. So somebody could somebody could know everything there is about sales. They could know the tactic, not everything, obviously, right? But they can know a lot about sales, the tactics, how to speak properly, how to present questions, how to close, and still not be good at sales. And the problem might be the product. They just don't believe in it. They need to
Yeah,
believe in it. Hmm.
yeah, and that's something we talk about in the program is so like the four hats of sales is the sales process I teach, and it's like bracketed off with conviction and enthusiasm. And you have to be careful because you don't necessarily have to have like an overbearing passion for what you sell, but you have to believe that it helps people. And you have to believe that it's good for people. And if you are selling something that you don't believe helps people, you will you will just become dead inside. I kid you not, you'll become dead. You'll numb and suppress your conscience and just it'll not be a good situation for you. And you won't do as well as you could. And if you do so, that's you just won't feel good about it. And so I always, encourage people, you don't have to be like over the top passionate about it, but you do have to believe that it helps people.
Right. That's a big, I'm glad you clarified that. A lot of people will be like, well, I'm not passionate about
Yeah.
this. It's like, no, you got to believe that what you're selling is good. It helps people.
Yeah. Because like, I sold software and I sold homes. And I believe both of them helped people. But if you asked me, like, are you super passionate about software or homes? I'd be like, not really. But I believe that they help people. Like, it was cool seeing people, a family, walk into their home for the first time owning it and being like, this is ours. This is where we can create memories and celebrate Christmas together. And that's powerful. And so, yeah, you just have to believe that what you're doing is making a difference in people's lives.
You told me a cool story about a time like, well, what a mindset shift you had where, the house when you buy a house that's being built, there's a process where you're left alone. And you said, well, when I did X, it actually helped people not worry and have a better mind. Tell us a little bit about that story, or tell us that story.
Oh, yeah. So in life, oftentimes a lot of problems can be solved by just pre-framing properly. And pre-frame is basically just like setting expectations. So especially in sales and business, setting expectations for the client will set them up for success or failure. So what happens is when I was selling homes, what would happen is it would they dig the foundation and they would do everything up until there was just concrete, the foundation was done, and the home was ready to be framed. And the framers can't just like hop on one house the day after it's ready. They're typically like backed up a little bit, and that's on purpose. And so there's always a home for them ready next. But what would happen is the home would be done, foundation would be done, and it'd be like 2 or 3 weeks until the framing would start. And so I'd have a homeowner be like, Kevin, what the heck? Our home's been sitting for like 2 weeks. Nothing's been done. Why aren't they framing yet? And I got this a couple times. And then I realized, like, okay, this is like normal, but they don't know that. So what I started doing is in our pre construction meeting, I'd say, okay, here's what's going to happen. They're going to dig the hole, pour the foundation, just so you know, there's going to be about 2 to 3 weeks where nothing's going to happen on the home. That's on purpose. That's normal. That's okay. Our framers are just going from house to house to house in a certain order. So that's totally normal. And they'd be like, okay, fine. That's cool. And then I stopped getting those calls. And so, whenever you find, something like that, whether with your kids, your spouse, your clients, a lot of times that can just be fixed by telling them upfront what to expect.
Absolutely. And I think the program that you teach, it's so crazy because I'd love, tell us about how people see results and not just their selling ability? When you go through that, like, why do you see such a shift of your life?
Sales is just communication, right? And so, like one of the lessons we talk about, hat number 4, the attorney hat, when you're like closing it or asking someone to buy. I always talk about most of the time when you're asking someone to buy, and this is the same like when you're asking your spouse or anyone something, you're going to hear no. Like, not everyone's going to say yes to every request you have. And our inherent response as human beings when someone says no is to be like, what? Wait, you're wrong. Like, no, that's not right. Like, no, I'm right. You're wrong. That's the normal human response. However, when you do that in sales, you put up a wall between you and your customer, and they're not going to buy from you because you're now the enemy. So, one of the things that I teach is like, hey, when someone says no, the price is too high, don't want to do it right now, I want to wait, just be like, hey, I get it. I agree with you. I totally understand where you're coming from. And then the wall goes down instead of putting a wall up. And I tell people in the program too, like, hey, when your spouse says something and you don't agree, be like, hey, I get it. Like, I understand where you're coming from. Because until someone feels like they're understood, they're not going to change their mind until someone feels understood. And so I've heard a lot of people say like that helped their marriage, that helped their relationships just by understanding the psychology behind that of like you have to agree so that people feel understood, and then you can come to some sort of like agreement. But until they feel understood, it's not going to work. So yeah, I mean, the Fight Against Mediocrity program is it's an incredible program, and it will help people. Literally, I like there is, if you go through it and you work hard, you would have to try hard not to make a six-figure income in your business or sales from everything that's being taught. Like, I lay it out clear and simple, not because like, hey, here's what I think works. It's like, no, here's what I did to create a multiple six-figure income and a multiple six-figure business. Like, if you use this, it works. So
Tell us about that. What was it like? What did it feel like when it kind of clicked? Like it clicked with sales and communication. What did that feel like? What were you doing?
I mean, I'm always improving and always trying to figure out those little tweaks that can make me better and better. And I wouldn't say I'm like I still have a lot to improve, but it actually happened when I attended a sales training by Jeff Shore. Jeff Shore, he wrote a review for my book on Amazon, but he's like a best-selling author. He's one of my mentors. He coaches sales for new home salespeople specifically. And I went to one of his workshops and he taught us his sales process, which I modeled a lot of what he taught into the 4 hats of sales, but I just loved how he taught it and was so seamless, and it wasn't pushy, and it was like very intuitive, and you're asking questions, figuring out what people wanted. And I think that those 3 days when I was at his conference, after that is when I really felt like, okay, I know how to sell. And what's crazy about that is I'd been selling for like 2 years before that, and just like trying to throw stuff at the wall, figure it out. But that one workshop was like, no, yeah, I feel really comfortable about this now. And yeah, that's probably when I was like more confident as far as, yeah, I could go out and sell anything.
Now, you told me this thing. You said that high achievers need to be reminded more than taught. How did that play a factor into this, into that?
So yeah, so that's a quote by Samuel Adams. People do need to be reminded more than they need to be taught. Yeah, no, that's definitely like as far as sales go, or what?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, sales. Like you watched that program, was everything new, or how much of it were you like, oh, that's right. But now that you've had the experience you've had, you're ready to apply that principle.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, a lot of it was like, oh, I'd heard this before, but a lot of it, I think it was just like how he taught it, how he presented it. For example, you always know you need to ask questions to the customer. Obvious. You need to understand where they're coming from to even know if you can help them or not. But just how he taught it was, I think it was new in a sense. I think it was something new that what I was learning. I'd read a lot of sales books, but always learning to be better. So yeah, I definitely think that in that case it was new.
Okay. So you needed, in other words, like sometimes you just need to find the right person. Like you said,
Yeah.
people are going to connect with you that wouldn't connect with other people for that kind of, is that kind of the same thing?
Yeah, for sure. And to give him credit, he's been doing sales trainings and sales for, I think, like over 30 years. So, I'd been doing it for 2. And so I went and learned from someone who's been doing it for 30 and leveraged his experience. And what took him, whatever, a decade to do, I learned in 3 days. You know what I mean? And so I think I think that's just so important to always realize, like, okay, how can I leverage the experience of others to accelerate my success? Because, the only commodity I mean, the only important thing that all of us have is time. You know what I mean? Like, you
Hmm.
can't get more time. And so I would rather spend money and learn something faster so that I can have the results from that for a longer period of time, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's kind of like, what's the point of being a billionaire if you're too old to even get out of the wheelchair and enjoy it?
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, that too, but like, for example, say, so when I first started the Fight Against Mediocrity program, I purchased an $18,000 program, a 6-month program to teach me how to create an online coaching business. They taught me what took them years to learn in 6 months. A lot of people would say, well, $18,000 is a lot of money. How I would respond is, okay, would you rather spend $18,000 or spend 5 years learning it on your own? When you put it in that way, it's just like, oh crap, I would rather spend the $18,000. But people don't get that. They think, oh no, well, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. It's like, okay, well, this is my favorite thing ever. You're going to pay for it one way or another. You're going to pay for it in time, try and figure it out yourself, or you're going to pay for it in money. You pick which payment you want to use.
One of those is a lot easier to earn more of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm, absolutely. And that's one thing that I think a lot of people in the fam would agree with is you taught us the value of time. Like, wow, right. What are we doing? What are we, you just did your quarterly planning and planning for, the rest for next year, 2023. And you did something that a lot of people would say is kind of weird. It's very different. You actually wrote your obituary. So like, what was that about?
Yeah, so I do it every year. And the reason I do it is because, it's the Alice in Wonderland, right? Like when she gets to the Cheshire Cat and she's like, "Which way should I go?" The Cheshire Cat's like, "Well, where do you want to go?" She's like, "Well, I don't know." It's like, "Well, then it doesn't matter which road you take." I never want that to happen to me. I want to be for whatever reason, from a young age, I always felt like I want to be intentional with where I'm going. And I don't want to be on my deathbed and be like, oh crap, like I really should have planned better. I wanted to do this and this and this. Or better yet, like at my funeral, I want people to say specific things about me. And I can't wait until like a year before I die to be like, okay, now it's time to become that person. It's like, no, I have to become that and be headed in that direction today. And so, just beginning with the end in mind and also having a vision for where you want your life to go, it actually makes everything else a lot easier because if you know where you want to go, then the opportunities that come in front of you, you can say, yes, because this is going to get me closer to where I want to go, or no, because yeah, that's like way far away from where I want to go. And so knowing where you want to go makes everything a lot easier.
I want to talk about it's really quick here as a coach's perspective. I think this is really interesting. You know, what do you see that's missing right now in the industry? As far, let me say, so what do you feel a lot of coaches are leaving on the table, not offering?
When you say not offering, like as far as information or as far as delivery?
I'd say it's up to you. Like you've been, let's say you're in a course across all the programs that you've been in. What are some things you're like,
Yeah.
gosh, man, why are people not doing this?
Well, I know why people aren't doing it, but I think what's missing most is so to give some backstory, in one of Russell Brunson's books, and I think he just quoted it from someone else, but I remember it from his book. He says that only 2% of people are really motivated enough to like become better. And that sounds weird at first, but he says 98% of people, the reason fad diets work so well is because a fad diet is essentially saying like, oh, the last way you tried to lose weight, yeah, that doesn't work. This new way works. And that's 98% of people. They're like, oh yeah, that way didn't work, so I have to try this new way. And they always looking for the new thing. But there's a small percentage of people, the 2%, who are like, I just want to get better for better's sake. And for those people, they're the ones that will purchase a course or a program, and they'll go through it because they're just self-motivated and they just want to do it. What I found from my personal experience is most people fall off the wagon and are not consistent, are not disciplined. They need help, they need accountability. And so, one of the things that most courses and programs lack that we've implemented into our program is like constant reinforcement and accountability, and hand holding. So, like next year, each person who signs up is going to have a coach who actually walks them through and is there for them when they have questions and gets on calls with them and everything. We have our Friday accountability groups where you can get on and like actually say, hey, this is what I told you I was going to do. I didn't do it. And that's like, we have hold very high standards. Like if you don't show up for those, then we kick you out. And we're building up this whole ecosystem to where, hey, you don't just get in and just watch videos and like, good luck, do it on your own. It's like, no, hey, you actually have support along the whole way. So what we teach you actually sticks. It's crazy. I was told, and I'm not going to like say who it is or quote it because I'm not 100% sure, but I was told, one of my mentors, he has a program that's a year long. And I was told that only 20% of everyone who signed up finished it. And it was like a $4,000 or $5,000 course. And only 20% finished it because it was such a long program that most people fall off. They don't finish it all the way. And at the first time I did it, just truthfully, I didn't finish it either. It took me 2 years. And the second year, I'm like, okay, I'm actually going to do this. Got a good group. And I went through the whole thing. But most people need help. They need accountability. They need hand holding. Most people, if you just give them information, that's not enough. They need support. And so that's where I really want to make the Fight Against Mediocrity program different is I'm not in it to sell $1,097 courses. I'm in it to like help the few who really want to be helped see massive results. I mean, my book is called Talk is Cheap. Like, I don't want someone to just say like, oh yeah, I'm going to do it and not do it. Like, I actually want to see people have results.
Okay. So kind of piggybacking off that question, let's focus on opportunities here. What's an opportunity you're seeing business owners not take advantage of right now?
There's a lot of things that business owners don't take advantage of. I think selling more things to their existing clients and referrals are two of the biggest thing that people, it's just like super low hanging fruit. Like if you have 1,000 clients who you're helping with this one thing, like what are complementary products that could be easily also served to that client? And number two, if you have a lot of happy clients, are you asking them and incentivizing them to give referrals? And I don't mean incentivizing them with money. I actually think that's a poor way to incentivize them. But creating a competition, recognizing them for giving referrals. I just think most business owners, if you already have a customer base, it's a lot easier to make your existing customer base more valuable than it is to go find new customers.
Okay. That's awesome. People need, it's essentially that foundational. Those are the things that people are just forgetting. And it's like, dude, that could have huge impact.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So, okay. This is just kind of a fun question. I just thought of this. So AI is like super popular right now. So there's
Yeah.
people that say, hey, okay, AI, write me a friendly and engaging cold call sales script. Okay. And they're like, oh, look, I'm a salesperson. Oh, look, I'm gonna write a book on how to sell stuff. So I had AI write me a cold outreach sales script, and I want you as a professional salesperson to give this a rating on the scale of 1 to 10. Okay.
Let's hear it.
All right.
And
So
can this AI like search Google and like do its research?
that's what's tough. Not yet. We don't have access to that yet. Like there are some AI. This one is it took a snapshot of all the information available to it online as of 2021. Like rip this up
Yeah.
if it sucks. If it's good, tell us it's good. So
Okay.
my prompt was just give me a friendly cold outreach script to a generic business owner. Okay. So here's what AI told me to do. Hi there. My name is Preston. I'm calling from X Business. First, let me say I just apologize for the cold call. I know how annoying they can be. The reason for my call is that I wanted to introduce you to our business and the services we offer. At Preston's business, we specialize in it just says, insert your name or service. So at Preston's Business, we specialize in the best products and services, and I've been helping clients like you achieve $100,000 per month for the last 10 years. I understand that you may not be in need of our services at the moment, but I wanted to make sure you were aware of us in case that changes. We have a lot of experience in this field, and I'd be more than happy to help you if the need ever arises. If you have any questions or would like to learn more, feel free to give us a call or send me an email. I'm happy to chat and provide any additional information you may need. Thank you so much for your time and have a great day.
Honestly, not too bad for AI. Um, it was cool because like in one of the books around cold calling called Fanatical Prospecting by Jeb Blunt, he always says to say the reason I'm calling is because. So the only thing I would have changed, one of the things is like adding the word because. They've done studies that if you add the word because, like people would just respond better to it. I mean, truthfully, not a horrible sales script. I mean, being just openly like, hey, first of all, I want to apologize for the cold call. That can work. It can also backfire. But the one thing that it did really well, which I think is just the most important thing in cold calls, is just getting right to the point. So yeah, I mean, that's honestly like I would feel comfortable using that script on a cold call. Now, are there things I would change? Yes, but pretty legit for just that.
Okay.
And just commenting on the AI
Yeah.
stuff, one of the reasons, so I studied accounting and I was an accountant for the year. I remember nearly every day I would have the thought, this is so stupid. Why am I doing this? One day they will have computers that will do all of this. Like I legit remember thinking that. I'm like, this is so stupid. Why am I manually doing all of this? I know a computer will be able to do this. And I also thought like if I knew programming, I could probably just do this. Like have program it so it does it on its own. So it's one of the reasons I wanted to get out of accounting is like I knew someday it would be replaced by AI.
Do you have anything else you want to say about AI before this last question?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I mean, one thing AI will never be able to replace is human leaders. Like humans in a sense could be predicted, but like humans won't be led by AI. Like humans are emotional creatures, they're not logical creatures. And so there will always be a need for leaders. So if there's one skill that everyone should be learning, it's leadership.
So, in other words, also you're not afraid. You don't seem afraid of AI.
No, I mean because I feel like I know that I built up the skill sets necessary that, AI will be a tool versus AI replacing me.
I think that shows a lot about who you are because a lot of people are scared about AI, and essentially what you're saying is, or what I see is that they're projecting their own insecurities.
Totally, dude. People who are afraid of losing their job are basically just saying, I don't feel like I have the skill sets necessary to create my own economy or go get another job.
Okay, now speaking of creator-owned economy, a lot of people are curious, man. It's a two-in-one question. So the first question about the creator-owned economy conference just happened. For those who aren't aware, it just happened in 2022 in April, and it was absolutely incredible. Massive turnout. The speakers you got, dude, ridiculous. And knowing you personally, it was so cool, dude. You were just like glowing on that stage, man. Like I can see everyone in that audience was baptized as to the belief that like Kevin should definitely be educating, teaching, and guiding us. Like, wow. So why? What was it like? How did you decide to do the conference?
Probably not the answer everyone's hoping for or looking for, but conferences have just impacted me so much and I believe in them so much that I'm like, yeah, this is the obvious next step. Let's do it. Now, I don't know very many people that would have been dumb enough to be like, yeah, we've only been in business for 4 months. Let's throw a 100-person conference. Like we'd literally, when we set that goal, we'd only been in business like 3 or 4 months. And we're just like, yeah, we're going to do a conference next year. And it was so hard and so crazy. But that was just like the next step is, yeah, we're helping people. This is one of the ways that we can help them. Let's do a conference.
Wow. Okay. And the next question is, are you going to do it again?
We are going to do it again. May 2023, I just nailed down our first speaker and his speaking fee was the price of a pretty decent car. And I'm freaking out a little bit about that. And we're going bigger. So everything's more money and everything's a little bit different. And it's pretty crazy. But overall, Yeah, we're doing it. It's gonna be, I'm hoping to make it like last year. If we could do the same impact as last year, I'd be happy, but I want to like make it even more impactful for those who come. So
Mm, love it. Um, I just want to say something. It's kind of interesting, man. The overarching, whenever and anybody whenever someone asks you why, and I'm asking why, all along here, why you did certain things, it loops back to that most important question. If you're going to sell something, you have to believe, like before you get good at sales, you have to believe it's going to help people. And it seems like every decision that you've made, that's been the route. You said a conference, it was crazy. People are like, oh, you want to do something crazy. It's like, well, yeah, but it started out as what's the next thing to help people. And it's cool because conferences helped you, so it helped them. Sales helped you, so now you're helping other people sales. It's truly all about just helping people.
yeah.
Starts out as help. That's amazing, dude. Thank you, man. I hope this wasn't as grueling and as hard as you thought it was going to be. I had a lot of fun.
No, yeah, you have to ask me the last question. The question I ask all all of
Yeah,
the
dude.
participants in the podcast.
All right, man. This is the final question. What does the fight against mediocrity mean to you?
It changes every day a little bit, the definition, but today, and the reason I say that is because of different inspiration and just like ideas I have around what it can be. But for me, the fight against mediocrity is saying no to the voice that says, settle, don't push, relax, everything's fine, go sit on the couch and play video games all day. Like the voice that says, like, hey, you don't need to do that. That's like too much. The settling voice saying no to that and pushing for more, pushing for your potential and striving to realize your potential. I think there are just too many people in the world who just settle, and that's fine. But at the fight against mediocrity, we're always pushing for excellence and pushing to achieve and realize our unlimited potential. So that's what it means to me.
And when do you stop? Like for you, when did you have to stop fighting mediocrity?
When did I have to stop fighting mediocrity? What do you mean?
Like how long does it take till you're done fighting mediocrity?
It's a lifelong war. It's a never ending battle. And as soon as you let up on it, you'll die. Like people who retire and like stop working, they die faster than people who keep working. So the fight against mediocrity is a never ending battle, and I plan on fighting it for the rest of my life.
Rad. Epic, dude. Epic. Well, I'm excited to watch you and to be a part of it for the rest of my life. Thank you so much for being you and doing what you do, man. On behalf of literally everybody who submitted questions and everybody in the fam, everyone who's read your book, the 500 to 600 people so far that you've impacted in just such a short amount of time. Like, thank you.
Thanks, brother. Thanks for this idea. Thanks for the interview.
Yep. Absolutely, brother. Dude, take care. See you in a little bit.
Man on a mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on a what? Yeah. You know I be on a what?